Do you get lost when it comes to building in Tears of the Kingdom? Well, here is all of the Zonai devices in the game so far, what they do and the location of where you can find them. So if you want to start building some crazy contraptions, then this video is for you to start with, as you will need to make sure you have access to all of the parts you need to build your perfect machine. So whether you're making a plane to get across massive gaps in the map, an automated robot of death, or something a little bit sus, then you should be able to do it after this video. An important thing to know is that you can get all of the devices that you need at the different Zonai dispenser machines that are littered around the map. You will actually need Zonai charges to put into the machine or construct horns so you can activate the gacha system to get what you want. And our first tip of the video is to like and subscribe down below to increase the chances of getting the device that you want. It's 100% legit. And each of these Zonai devices are accessible at multiple different dispensers. So at the end of this video, we will show you each of the locations that we've unlocked so that you know what your options are. But it's all good knowing how you get them, but what exactly do they do? Let's explain the role of each device and how they fit into your builds. First up is the wing, which we're sure many of you are already aware of. This one allows you to glide through the sky and is a great way to travel the map, especially if you want to unlock all of the sky view towers. You're able to control it by standing on the different sides or adding a steering stick, which we'll talk about later. Here's a great tip: if you're having trouble getting off of a high place, then you can use a trick with your recall power. Grab the wing and place it in the air with Ultra Hand, and then drag it back to the ground. Step on the wing and use the recall power to go back into the air, and then release the power so you can fly away. And if you want to find the wing device, you can find it here on the map. And next up is the fan. This is a pretty basic one, and if you're playing the game you will probably have the hang of it already, but you can use it to propel vehicles and other things within the game world. We are big fans of this one, especially when it's attached to the wing, as it allows you to gain extra height and travel a bit faster to places far away. You can find fans here on the map. Next up is the cart, and this one is great for movement over flat surfaces or to just move things around. You can attach it to the bottom of your wings so you can easily slide off surfaces, or attach it to your horse's harness so you have a proper cart. But by far the coolest thing to do with this is to actually fuse it onto your shield to turn your shield into your very own skateboard. Definitely try this out if you haven't, because it's just that good and fun. And you'll be able to find this on the map here. For the next one, a lot of places that you'll want to get to in Tears of the Kingdom will require you to gain a lot of height, and one of the best ways to do this is to use the balloon, as if you have a fire under it, it essentially acts as a hot air balloon, allowing you to fly up and far away. We haven't actually explored this one outside of its base use, so if you have any tips or tricks to do with the balloon, then tell us down below in the comments and we can all learn together as a community. And you can find this device here on the map. Next up is the rocket device, which is kind of like the hot air balloon but for any direction and a shorter burst. It attaches to anything and will send it rocketing at Mach 10. It only lasts for a short while before breaking apart, but it's great for when you need an additional push in a direction. One fantastic tip is that you can fuse this to your shield so you can do a rocket jump, which is great for getting around the map. You can find the rocket device here on the map. If you just want to blow some stuff up though, then this next device is for you. The time bomb is one for the longtime fans of the Zelda games, and you'll be right at home destroying things with this explosive device that detonates after a short amount of time. You can also attach this to your weapons and shield if you're looking to be a little extra spicy. You can find this one here on the map. Next is the portable pot, and this is pretty much exactly what it says on the tin. It's an emergency cooking pot that only lasts for one meal, and it's really good if you're in a pinch and need to make some food really quickly. You can find the portable pot here on the map. Next is the flame emitter, which is a super helpful device, not only because it can be attached to your weapon and shield for extra damage, but it can also be used to propel your hot air balloons. We normally attach this to our shield for some fun, and it will outright cook your enemies and set them ablaze. So if you haven't tried it on your shield, definitely give it a go. And you can find this here on the map. But next up, what if we had a flamethrower like the previous flame emitter, but instead it was for ice? Well, your dreams can come true, as this is the frost emitter, and it's basically the same setup as the flame one, but this time instead it will freeze enemies, so it's really good for crowd control. And you can find this one here on the map. This next one might be a bit shocking, as there is also a shock emitter that does the same thing as the ice and fire one, but instead electrocutes your enemies. You have to get a bit closer for this one to be effective though, but it is very good for stunning your enemies. And again, you can find this one here on the map. Lastly, for the emitters, we also have our personal favourite because it's super strong and will destroy any enemies caught in it. The beam emitter shoots out a laser beam over a great range and does quite a bit of damage to enemies that stay in the beam. This is an amazing offensive tool and definitely one you should be using. You can find it here on the map. Next up is the Hydrant. It's a great source of water and it can be used to solve puzzles or create platforms. It's basically like a fire hydrant, and for this one I feel like we haven't explored the crazy possibilities that it could lead to. So if you have any tips for the Hydrant, tell us down below in the comments. And you'll be able to find it right here on the map. Next up is the steering stick, which honestly is a must-have, and I would suggest you get a bunch of these as early as possible. This allows you to control your vehicles and go in the direction that you want to. You can actually attach it to cars or planes. Even the wing device without any engine can be controlled with this. It's an absolute game changer for controlling your devices, so if you haven't got it, go and grab it right here on the map. Next is the small wheel. This is a wheel that you can attach to planks or other objects to basically create cars. These wheels can hit a very high top speed very quickly, but do require you to use a flat surface as they don't climb hills very well. You can find them here on the map. In comparison to the small wheels, you also have big wheels, but this time they are much better on all terrain, so hills and small walls, these things are an absolute beast to ride on. So if you want to create some kind of monster truck style vehicle, then definitely get these. Another useful function is to use them to create spinning things. So you can actually attach it onto the front of your vehicle to create a spinning wheel of something like emitters or spikes to take out a larger group of enemies. And you can find the big wheels here on the map. Next up though, we have the Sled. This may sound kind of boring on paper, but it's actually super fun. It allows you to propel yourself on grassy and sandy plains. So if you're in central Hyrule, attach a fan and a steering stick to this thing, and just see how fast it moves. This is probably our preferred mode of transport for this part of the map, so definitely try it out. And you can find it here on the map. Next is the battery, which is really good and gives you some additional power to your machines without having to use your own energy cells. Simply attach it to your device and it will drain power from the battery before using your own energy cells. So if you want to get even further in your vehicles, use this one and you can find it here on the map. Next is the big battery, which is essentially a bigger and better version of the smaller battery. We actually haven't been able to find this one out in the wild, but it could be because we haven't finished our story progress. So we actually got this one from a reward inside of a chest in a pretty wild place like the Wellspring Island. But do tell us if you found a dispenser for the big battery down in the comments. Next is the spring, which is for those of you that want to get to high places or just send things flying away. If you add power to it, it will contract and expand to bounce things far away. But you can also shield surf on it for a nice bounce into the air, but this is a one-time use. And you can find this one here on the map. Next up is probably one that a lot of you are looking for so you can be a menace out in Hyrule. The cannon does what you expect it to do. It shoots balls of energy that deal massive damage to a target. So if you want to create a tank, then you will probably need this to get you started, as it does pack a serious punch. And you can find it right here on the map. Next is the stabilizer, which we think is really cool. It functions as a gyro and allows anything that you attach to it to stand upright. So if you have a vehicle that doesn't have great balance, then attach these to it and it will pop right up, and you can even use it to create things like a catapult. This is definitely something that you will see a lot in more complex builds, so you're going to want this one too, and you can find it here on the map. The next one is super simple to understand. It's a hover stone, or in simpler terms, a hover platform that hovers when it has power. It isn't very mobile, so don't expect to use it as a vehicle, but I'm sure someone will find a way to cheese this thing and use it as it isn't intended in the future. And you can find this one on the map here. Next up is the light, which is a very useful Zonai device. You can attach it to the front of your vehicles for much easier navigation in dark places like the depths. And you can find the light here on the map. Next up is the stake, which allows you to create footholds in terrain and it can actually go into objects, so you can attach objects to parts of the terrain that you normally wouldn't be able to. It's super useful, but most people are using them at the moment to create poles or arms for their machines. And you can find this here on the map. The next one doesn't have too much to explain at the moment, but the mirror will reflect and focus light. There's a bunch of puzzles in the game that will use them, but if you found any unusual uses for them, then make sure to share them down below, and you can find them here on the map. And the next device is probably one of the best, or at least our favourite, because you can make automated robots out of them. The homing cart is a little robot that will home in on enemies, so attaching emitters or spikes on the front of them can deal some serious damage. You can also send these to clear out a whole wave of enemies by themselves, so definitely try out the homing carts if you haven't already. You can find them here on the map. But next is the construct head, which you can combine with a lot of things, but if you try it out on the homing cart before, you can create a proper robot of destruction. The head will face towards enemies, meaning your cannons and emitters will be able to target the enemies themselves, so this is awesome for anything that has weapons attached to it. And you can find the construction head here on the map. So now you know all of the Zonai devices, and you may want to go and make some builds yourselves with them. So here we have all of the dispenser locations for you to see, so you can see which ones you get from where. And then tell us in the comments what you are thinking of making. Hit the like button if you found this video helpful, and share it to a friend so they can learn about all of the devices too.